Okay, hi everyone. So actually, in 3 days, I'll celebrate 6 years of sobriety, which, thank you. I got a breath. Which is a huge part of my story in general. Interestingly enough, when I first tried to go to rehab, it was actually a Christian-based treatment center. And I didn't find long-term sobriety at that treatment center, but I was introduced to God in a new way, which was worship. I was born and raised in the Christian Catholic Church. I was an altar server, I did all of the things, but I struggled a little bit with my faith based on what I would hear in church and then what I would see kind of go on. And so I turned away from it for a long time. And when I went to that treatment center, I really enjoyed worship. It was something that I found a great community around it, but I didn't stay sober nonetheless. So I would spend the next few years running back and forth from California to Pennsylvania, essentially running away from myself. And after a few years of that and just so much disaster, I quickly learned that wherever I went, there I was. And so I went to a treatment center here in Pittsburgh for the first time 6 years ago. Ironically, my first time trying treatment here in my hometown, which I would always complain and say, I can't get sober at the same place where I created all of this mess. But that's exactly where I needed to get sober. I needed to clean the messes up. I needed to face everything. And God was a really big part of that, and he showed me that. It just takes me a while to see things sometimes. And so fast forward to now, here we are. I was a little over 5 years sober, and I just felt like something was missing. And upon these, these years of sobriety, my life has improved. I've done so many incredible things, but I really hadn't had a strong relationship with God. And closer to year 6, right in the middle of year 5, is when I really realized that I was kind of at a standstill. I wasn't gonna grow. I wasn't gonna go any further in my life and my sobriety in any regard without having a relationship with God. So, it's really interesting how in that first time I went out to treatment and I was introduced to worship in a type of community of people that accepted me for who I was. And that is what I thought of halfway through year 5 when I, knew I wanted to re-embark on my journey with God. And that is what I remembered. And I knew of this church. I had friends that had gone here. My sister has been going here. I have been here, here and there over the years. But it was time to commit. And so I started coming alone. I would try to bring my daughter when I could. Everybody was so kind to me. But I wanted more. I still wanted more. And so within, I think, my 3rd week, I jumped into service with the goal to build a community around God and my faith. And, I'm up there almost every week with incredible people. And, last week I was out of town for work, and I said I couldn't believe how much I missed it here. And I was across the country in California last Sunday, ironically, and I missed everyone, and I was so happy to come back today. But, to rewind a bit, this past Easter of 2024, I walked into church alone. My daughter had to go to her father's house because we co-parent, so it was a little bit I was struggling with that, asking God on my way to church, why isn't she coming today? Why isn't everything working how I want it to go? Why don't I get to walk into church with my daughter? So I came, and I sat down alone, and I found that day that people were being baptized. And God spoke to me, and I got baptized that day, and I gave my life to Christ. Thank you. It was beautiful. And one last thing I want to say, after I was baptized, I watched a mother and daughter get baptized together. And it was so heartfelt, but these mixed emotions. And I remember thinking, I wish it could have maybe been like that, or why wasn't it like that? I still have questions, just to be honest. And then that's when I heard God say to me, this one's between you and I. And in that moment, it just reminded me that all of those things are gonna come, but right now, this is between him and I. And so I can't thank everyone here at Sanctuary. I can't thank Jason enough, and everybody's just been so welcoming, and I'm just so happy to be here, and thank you for letting me share a part of my story.